Who is Kissy Missy and what is her tragic connection to the protagonist? Is it possible that she could be one of the orphan children Playtime Co used in order to perform their immoral and evil experiments on? Well, hi folks, I'm R, and we're gonna find out about that very soon. Send me your theories on Twitter which I could look at and possibly cover in the next videos. This video will have spoilers. With that said, let's begin. If you have managed to watch my last 3 videos, you would be very familiar with the sinister intentions Playtime Co had with the orphans they welcomed into their facilities. If it wasn't clear enough already after playing Puppy Playtime Chapter 2, you could watch these 2 videos by clicking on the cards above or the links in the description to get a detailed explanation why the orphans were in fact used for experiments, and that they were observed and tested in each game in the game station. I won't get too deep into explaining and providing evidence why they were experimented on, as I already have done so. Instead, I want to shift your attention to another possible concept, that Kissy Missy is in fact one of the orphan kids who were tested and experimented on within the confines of Playtime Co factory. This is going to be more of a speculation using some evidence, the known fact that children were experimented on, and the strange interaction Kissy Missy had with the protagonist. In the Playtime Co's Adopt and Foster a Child initiative, it clearly mentioned that the employees of the organization were encouraged to participate in this program, to whether foster a child or even provide them with a permanent home and adopt them. And by the information provided throughout the factory and the numerous guidelines, Playtime Co definitely had more of an aggressive approach than an encouraging and liberating attitude. Encourage in the scenario could potentially mean forcing employees to participate in adopting or fostering children, by whether guilt-tripping them, antagonizing the ones who do not want to participate, or even threatening them with relieving them from their positions at the organization. So it's fair to say many within the factory were possibly forced to adopt or foster children. Although a noble and respectful behavior to willingly adopt or foster a child, one has to be willing to do so and take the responsibility, as if someone is not ready, whether financially, mentally, or physically, it could lead to chaos, and the children would be probably in a worse off situation. However, this is not something that Playtime Co necessarily cared about. In Heyday 1992 photograph, it's clearly shown that many adults are present in the game station, who are observing the children and even playing with them. These adults could be employees of Playtime Co who participated in the program with the intention of whether adopting or fostering children. This event in its entirety is being observed by the scientists above, who are taking notes and possibly sending them to Stella Graeber for assortment. It's a possibility majority of the employees were not aware of the cruel experiments happening to the children, as clearly the excavation note written by Eddie M&R stresses the secrecy of this project, creating a secret lab beneath the factory.
I took a peek beneath the gate, and some massive bloody thing was doddering about the bloody hallway.
Thing? You're sure it wasn't a person?
Ain't no person that's 50 feet long with 1,000 legs.
Marcus, you're losing me.
The following is a pre-recorded announcement to address the many complaints regarding an alleged very, very big spider crawling around in the facility. The Playtime Corporation wants me to remind you all that spiders that big do not exist, and that if they did, quote, we would already be dead anyways, end quote.
Therefore, many of the adults present on the game station grounds with the children could genuinely want to adopt the children, and were clueless to what the true intention of Playtime Co is. It is even a great possibility that certain employees were experimented on themselves, someone like Marie Payne, the test subject for Mommy Longlegs, who was in fact an adult. What if the protagonist was one of these adults who genuinely wanted to adopt a child who ultimately turned into Kissy Missy? I previously explained Kissy Missy's questionable interaction with the protagonist in detail in one of my last videos, which you can watch by hitting on the card above or the link in the description. I explained how instead of killing or attacking him, Kissy Missy in fact helped the protagonist by opening one of the gates. She didn't just open the gate randomly and leave, but she showed interest in the protagonist more than usual and resentment to some degree by leaving him and disappearing right after helping him, which could explain she cares about him, but at the same time, she doesn't want to be with him or close to him. Kissy Missy gave the protagonist a distinct last long look before leaving, as if she has some unconcluded, deep history with him. As I said before, make sure to watch the video if you haven't already, as I explain this in much more depth and won't cover the same information again in this video, as this would make it very long and repetitive. It's very likely Kissy Missy recognized the protagonist, had some sort of history with him in order to help him, but yet left him behind and didn't want to be with him due to being let down by him in the past or even betrayed. I covered this concept up to this point in the last video, but a theory I didn't touch on is the likelihood of the protagonist being an adoptive parent who fostered or adopted the orphan child who embodies Kissy Missy now. Think about it. The Playtime Co encouraged all of its employees to participate in a program adopting or fostering orphan children. The orphan children were usually kept in the game station where they were tested with 3 different games. In the game station were also present many adults who seemingly were the employees who participated in this program. Someone else who was present was no other than Mommy Longlegs, guiding the children into the 3 different games available. Mommy in one of her dialogues points out that she vividly remembers the protagonist as an ex-employee.
But you worked here. So if anyone deserves to die alone, it's you.
Knowing the character of Mommy Longlegs, we know that she was restricted to what people she could see. She only saw the scientists who experimented on her, the children, and the adults who were present in the game station. That is, of course, if she wasn't an ex-employee herself who met other employees. So, what does all of this mean? Well, the protagonist is an ex-employee Mommy Longlegs recognizes, and if she wasn't an employee herself, considering that she hated all of the employees in Playtime Co, as she perceived them as evil scientists who all experimented on children and herself, it's safe to say her bubble of interaction was limited to seeing people who experimented on her, children in the game station, and adults who were present there participating in this program. The protagonist could be whether one of the adopting employees or a cruel and evil scientist who participated in experimenting on Mommy Longlegs. The latter is less likely, as Mommy Longlegs generally referred to him as an ex-employee, whom she gave some time before attacking directly. If the protagonist was in fact an evil scientist who experimented on her, she would probably want to seek vengeance and kill him right away with a lot of pain. So it's fair to assume and say that the protagonist was one of the employees who wanted to adopt a child and was present in the game station. This reinforces the idea that the protagonist had some sort of history with Kissy Missy or the person who embodies her. The protagonist was possibly no other than an employee who adopted the child that ultimately was experimented on and became the abomination that is known to be Kissy Missy. This explains why she helped him, yet didn't stay behind for a much-needed reunion. Kissy Missy, or the girl that embodies her, cared enough about the protagonist, seeing him as her adoptive father, wanting to help him, despite what she was made to be. A mindless and vicious cyborg, part human and part mechanical, to uphold the policies of Playtime Co and stop intruders by any means necessary. That is why the alarm is sounded when she appears, similar to how Huggy Wuggy does. She is possibly another measure for security.
This facility is full of hidden motion triggers, which, once set off, will turn on the factory's emergency alarms and directly contact the authorities. And that's one of the more tame aspects of our security system.
Instead of stopping the protagonist, she helps him and gives him a long look, noticing he wants the gate to be opened. Showing her higher cognitive ability, she opens the door and soon intends to leave, but not before giving the protagonist a lingering last look. This could mean she cared about the protagonist enough to help him, but still had unresolved resentment that she didn't want to stay and reunite with him. Her resentment is of course feeling betrayed after being experimented on and turned into this monstrous entity. She feels that the protagonist betrayed her, yet again, as it can be perceived that way as he was an employee, while his involvement in the evil experiments is actually unclear. The protagonist, just like many other employees in the organization, could be completely clueless about the experiments and possibly was experimented on himself, explaining his loss of memory and resilient ability to get revived after each death. Maybe the protagonist was a genuinely good person who wanted to adopt a child due to his pure heart, but was ultimately used as an experiment, having his memories wiped clean. Therefore, Kissy Missy in theory is an adopted orphan child who was adopted by no other than the protagonist, who again cross paths with Kissy Missy helping him but not staying behind to be reunited, as she still feels resentment and is unsure to the protagonist's involvement in the evil experimentations. The protagonist, seemingly having his memories wiped, doesn't remember much and doesn't recall who Kissy Missy is, making his interaction with her very strange. The innocent orphan child, despite feeling betrayed and being disfigured, being used as a test subject and subjugated to her oppressor's demands, still decides to help the protagonist, her adoptive parent, still remembering the good memories she had with him, still caring about him, but not able to bring herself to the point of accepting the injustice that happened to her. That's it for this video, folks. I truly hope that you enjoyed it. I have a few more theories about Puppy Playtime Chapter 2, which I might make videos of in the future. With that said, it's been your host Star, and I hope to see you on the next one. Take care.